Welcome back to Extra Shot, the podcast spilling the funniest stories in sport this week. On the show today, pipe bombs at Old Trafford.
A fan was just in the bogs, like over a nervy pre-match shit, and just found this pipe bomb. We're looking at a picture of it now.
Managers stealing players' credit cards. He bought 36 1-litre bottles of Jägermeister. And mystic animals boiled alive.
You could add, subtract, multiply, divide. Just wondering, is this the most boring episode?
How are we doing? Hi, Zach.
Hello, Jack. How you doing?
We've got Zach here. We've got JP here.
Hello, chaps. You all right?
Yeah, we're very giddy with excitement because we've got some new microphones.
We do.
If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see we're holding them.
Yeah, it's a
wild.
big improvement. I feel like Pete Doherty.
It is a bit rock and roll, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. I think for me, it feels a bit more like Big Breakfast, sort of TFR Friday,
90s.
Noel's House Party, unscripted 90s, whereas before felt quite rigid, felt a bit more like, I don't know.
Yeah,
sort of
there's
Stephen
the
Hawking.
vibes are flowing
Yeah.
right now because the vibes.
feel free.
It's difficult to, like, before we even started recording, we were just having a conversation. It's impossible when you're holding a mic to not talk into it.
Yeah, I feel like I am one with the mic now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this episode isn't just going to be about
Oh.
tedious electronics that we picked up from Maplin. Although we are going to get some muffs for the mics.
It's branded.
Yeah,
Yeah.
branded muff.
Branded muffs.
Branded muff.
You love a
You've
muff,
reached
don't
the
you?
branded
I do,
muff
yeah.
stage of your career, my friend.
I've made it.
Pricey muffs. So yeah, that's something.
Is
to
there
look forward to.
is there a place online for muff?
I know a little place.
Muffs are us.
No, a little place in China, actually. Yeah.
We did get that. Well, we didn't exactly get directly sent it, but we've been recommended for a sex doll advertising thing. Have you seen this?
On the pod.
Well, yeah. So
We're
it was
in talks.
it was a sister podcast that got offered it, right?
Yeah, so
And,
our friends at Fulhamish who
yeah.
produce the Upshot podcast, they got approached by a sex torso company. So it's not a doll, it's a torso.
So do they give you one to try out?
Well, they drive a hard bargain, this company, but I'm hoping at some point.
Do we just get one to share between the three of us?
Do we share one?
Yeah, I think so. You clean it in the dishwasher, I think.
Why do you?
Yeah.
No, they self-clean, mate. You just do it.
Just lay back and think of England.
Shotgun Verso.
Yeah, well, I think they were just offering a freebie in exchange for an ad, which, might work. Or they're quite expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're like £700 or something.
I don't know.
I've heard.
But you can pay them free. Klarna it.
They are expensive when they're new, when they're used. They don't hold their value. As soon as you drive that thing off the forecourt, it's losing 90% of the value.
Is there a world there where if you buy it off a certain celeb or something that the value can go up? Like if you bought David Beckham's sex doll,
Maybe then.
used sex doll,
Yeah, maybe then.
Or to shells.
Yeah, it's got a history that's interesting.
It'd be quite nice to have it just like in the corner, like the used one, and then anyone could like.
I think we need a curtain to cover it for advertisers. Yeah, I also when you look on the website at them, if you Google it, you get people just post videos of themselves using it, which is truly horrendous.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about sport. Anyone watch the Grand National?
I did.
Yeah, I actually didn't see any. Did you have a little flutter?
I did have a little flutter. I put on the winner was a 38-1 or a 34-1, and I put on a 40-1 because I always think it's just going to be someone on the outside, and an outsider won it. I can't remember the name.
Did yours finish? Did you see it?
No, I didn't finish. Didn't finish.
Apparently, you've got a funny Grand National story, which is why we're talking about this. Do you want to just tell me what it is?
I thought third week in the job, I'd do a bit of digging and a bit of journalism this week. There's no graphs, unfortunately, Zach, but
I was wondering when it would kick off.
and there's absolutely nothing out there funny around the Grand National. It's quite a boring sport, isn't it? But I did message a contact of mine who is involved in horse racing, shall I say. And I said, hi, quick random cue. I've not spoke to her in about 6 months. Covering the Grand National this week on the Upshot. Have you got any funny horse stories or tales? I'm struggling to find anything good on the web. She goes, ha ha ha, there's a lot of funny stories in horse racing. What kind of vibe are you going for? I do have a bit of a saucy one. So this woman that I ride out with is famous for all the jockeys that she has rode, as in all the jockeys that she has slept with, have gone on to win the Grand National shortly after. I said, that could be fucking great. Is it all right if I tell it? And she goes, yeah, fine. She seems pretty open about it. I said, any idea on numbers? And she said 3 or 4 of the previous winners have been with this woman.
Wow.
So she is some sort of...
Has she just shagged the whole paddock? It's just a numbers game, really.
I think she is some sort of good luck charm within...
Is she a jockey?
No, she's not a jockey, but she's...
a friend of jockey. She's part of the process.
She's in the paddock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't get any names.
So did she tell you this before the race? Is that why you picked your one?
No. Well, actually, no. I asked her after Grand National.
Okay.
But she said there's loads of sort of gribbly stories within the paddock, but we'll have to get her on. Yeah. She's quite well known, this contact.
So this time next year, are you going to be asking who's been between the sheets?
Yeah.
Lately?
Gotcha.
My own scandal.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you found out, then we can...
That's quite a good tip.
Fixing?
Yeah.
I just don't want to get in any trouble. I'll let you get into trouble, really.
She must, the Grand National must be quite like high stakes for her because you don't want to ruin your record.
Yeah.
Or do you think she's shagged a lot of...
I think she's...
That's what I was wondering, yeah.
They've fallen at the third.
She's like 38 out of 40 riders.
Didn't mention the one who fell at Beaches Brook.
If you're really struggling for form before the Grand National, and you're like, fuck, I need to go and find Barbara.
Yeah. Surely the bookies are pretty fucking wily. Are they wise to this? You suddenly see the odds go slashed.
Overnight.
Questions will be asked.
Doesn't matter about the horse's form. It's just whether the jockey's found this.
Do we know what sort of time period we're talking about? Like, did she?
She didn't give me a time period, but she's not young. This woman.
So it's Red Rum.
Yeah.
Who won it 3 times. Is it plausible that Red Rum's jockeys? Because I was reading about Red Rum, the only horse to win it 3 times. It's pretty amazing. That's rare.
I don't know whether this woman has.
It was 1973. That's quite a long. That's 50 years.
She'd be quite old.
Yeah.
My favourite part of the story is where she said, a girl I used to ride out with, which makes her sound like some sort of like New York pimp. Which actually, looking at the story, kind of makes sense as well.
That's what they do. Right out,
horse racing is quite like fruity, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's a small community, isn't it? So I guess they all just getting jiggy with it.
Quite cokey.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah. We've done quite a few stories in our newsletter about like jockeys getting caught doing coke.
There was the horse that got caught doing coke as well.
Yeah, was it meth?
Was it meth? Yeah. It was actually like one of my favourite excuses that this horse tested positive for some kind of steroids or something, and the stable master, the like trainer, whatever, excuse was that one of the stable hands had taken gear or meth or something and then pissed on the straw that the horse then ate. So the horse ingested the meth and tested positive.
Why is your stable hand pissing on the horse's food the week before the Grand National?
He's absolutely off his rocker, mate.
Maybe that's their lucky charm.
Yeah.
I bet there are some weird ones in the horse world. It's got some odd types in it.
Yeah.
Poor horse.
I was anyway, Red Rum I was reading about, and I didn't know that Lee Mack, the comedian, used to be a stable hand for Red Rum. And he said that once he was walking the horse through Southport, through the street. I think because Red Rum was so famous, you probably just sort of do the old public appearance at a nightclub or whatever. And he said, as he was
the Wheelstone Raider,
Howard from the Halifax adverts. Who gives you extra? Anyway, they were passing a parked car, and Red Rum's got a fucking huge cock, and apparently this cock was swinging from side to side, and it swung and smashed the wing mirror off a car. And he had to leave a note on the windscreen. Sorry, the most famous horse in Britain accidentally knocked your wing mirror off with his cock.
It's a bit like borrowing a sex doll from David Beckham.
Yeah.
Kind of. I think I'd rather lose my wing mirror to Red Rum than touch that.
Do you think people are recognising Red Rum when he's walking through the streets?
I mean, to me, it's just like
it's a horse.
Yeah.
It's just quite a big horse.
It was a very famous horse.
Yeah.
You can only identify him via his cock. That's Red Rum, that.
Yeah. No, I'm a mile
that
off.
one.
Yeah, I bet if you're really horsey, you probably can.
Yeah.
Away from sports that maybe aren't sports, football. Are you off to Warsaw this week? Chelsea got a big game.
What else are you going to do on a Thursday, Jack? Sit in your fucking armchair wanking off to Pop Idol?
I think it's a pretty good away day, though, isn't it?
It is, but we are probably going to get to the final, touch wood. And the final's also in Poland, so...
I was actually looking at this yesterday. It's in Rocklau.
Rocklau.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually. I was looking at the stadium. It's the most Conference League venue. It's the third largest stadium in Poland.
Couldn't give us a top one.
I reckon that's quite a fun night.
Yeah,
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
But I've pre-booked the hotels for the final. I know that is sort of.
Well, you pre-booked already.
Well,
That's
I mean,
confident.
Booking.com do that free cancellation
Yeah,
bullshit, didn't
yeah.
they? So just thinking ahead, Zach.
Other services are available.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun night. So you're not going to Warsaw?
No, not going to Warsaw. No, I did fancy Kazakhstan, which was in
Yeah.
the previous round, but it was like 2 flights, and I think it was about a 13-hour round trip.
I'd love to go.
Yeah.
Oh, you were saying if Fulham get a Conference
Yeah,
League.
Fulham get into the Conference League next year. I want to go to Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan
Yeah.
or like one of these random places.
Off with the
So
boys,
when else
yeah?
you gonna go? When else you gonna go? Exactly. Yeah.
That's like Stone Island on eBay.
Look, for a trip to Kazakhstan, I'll fork out.
Come on,
anything,
boys.
really.
Yeah, worth
Yeah.
it.
And my ball out of Mankini.
Probably more you.
Yeah, maybe that's quite a good like sort of stag do spot.
Yeah.
Central Asia.
Astana.
Yeah,
So
I've got a
Astana's
mate who did
capital, right?
he did all those Central Asian stans, and he said he wrote a book about it. It sounds fucking exotic and interesting.
Yeah.
But one of the main takeaways is a lot of constipation because the food's quite
Shit.
it's quite repetitive.
What kind of
Yeah.
food is it?
I actually can't remember, but I'm guessing
Like,
quite.
I've got
stewy.
Yeah.
ghoul in my head.
Yeah, you think it's sort of like goulashy? It's
Yeah.
a bit more Asian
I think
than
more
that,
like
isn't it?
brothy, with like really tough bits of meat.
Yeah.
Bits
Yeah.
of beef, bits
Like
of horse, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a bit of red rum in there?
Horse. Not red rum. Bit of red rum's dick.
Anyway, it's good that we got European football because the Premier League, I feel like the jeopardy's gone out of it a bit by now. It's not a classic season. Liverpool are cantering towards the title,
Yeah.
and the shit munchers are down, aren't they? The 3 that came up are off to the glue factory.
I guess it's just the European places.
Yeah, which is like, I mean, that's not. I don't think it's been a vintage season.
No, not at
But
all.
still, like you can find excitement unless you're the BBC. They did an article this week, which for me is taking the piss in making football boring. So it's where do Premier League managers stand during a game?
Fucking hell.
And then the BBC said, over the past 3 days, we sent a BBC Sport journalist to all 10 Premier League games to closely watch what every manager did as the action unfolded. So they did a heat map for every manager, being like times he left his technical area, like times he stood up. I don't think they did his laces or blew his nose, but it's on that spectrum.
Someone's getting paid for that.
Mate, 10 different journalists. Here's Mike Peter, who was reporting from Goodison Park. The touchlines are tight here, but that wasn't going to stop Mikel Arteta. He still squeezed out of his technical area almost 50% more than opposite number David Moyes. Who fucking cares?
It's so boring.
Literally, who the fuck cares about that? I know like people have a go at all the XG shit, but this is
Yeah.
next level.
Expected handshake stats.
Fucking hell, that's madness.
The comments were quite funny. They were just like, can I get a heat map of watching paint dry next week?
I did read a article in The Athletic this week about Scott McTominay's newfound love for Italian tomatoes.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the entire article. And I was
Yeah.
just sitting there like, how on earth are people paying for this?
Yeah.
That is basically what interviews are like with sportsmen because it's so controlled. It's always just so tame.
Yeah.
Also, in Naples, I've actually never been, but a friend of mine was telling me that when you go to get a pizza there's different types of tomatoes that you can get on the pizza that are grown on different sides of Vesuvius.
Wow.
What type did you go for?
I've never been to Naples, but I do.
Good, because that was a joke. I would like to do an episode where maybe April Fool's next year we just try and make it as boring as possible and see if people maybe people think that's what we're doing right now, but
It's impossible with our
Maybe that's
chemistry, Jack.
maybe that's a Patreon one.
Yeah.
Just see if people notice because I can go quite boring.
Yeah. The tomatoes in the UK are shockingly bad.
They're shite.
They're terrible.
Apparently you shouldn't put them in the fridge, it makes it worse.
Really.
Yeah.
Like anything from Tesco's or Sainsbury's that is a tomato is fucking terrible.
When you go on holiday in Europe, you're
Yeah.
like, fucking hell, this is what they're
Yeah,
meant to
it's
taste
like
like.
so fresh. I'm actually with you, Scott. It's like a really nice.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
think
it
they're
does.
kept in warehouses where they're like ripened and then like chilled for ages. So they're like they keep them for
And that's
like
why
months.
so
There's no flavour.
It was those those tomatoes.
Do you want to know what sort of warehouse?
No, but though they were developed in the Netherlands, the type of like salad tomatoes. I'm not joking.
The really
They're like
watery
salad
ones,
tomatoes because they've in the Netherlands
like-
they've really like optimized vegetable production.
Whereabouts?
Like test tubes.
Actually, funny you should mention that because if you get the train between Amsterdam and Rotterdam, there's a sea
Far
of greenhouses.
as the eye can
No,
see.
okay, genuinely interesting stat. After the US, the Netherlands exports the most fruit and veg in the world.
Really?
Yeah. And look at the size of it.
Who's number 3?
Well, you'll be surprised to hear.
And what sort of tariffs are they putting on that now? I could honestly go on for hours.
Fields and fields of test tube tomatoes. As
Exactly.
Far as the eye can
That's
see.
shit.
No, but they've developed it. I can't remember the exact data, but I can get up if anybody's interested on how quickly they grow those tomatoes. It's ridiculous. It's like 7 days.
Did a small
Really?
tear
Okay.
drop down your face as you were going over on the train? Just
Is
like,
this what the world has come to? Get me back to Vesuvius.
Anyway, if Zach talking about tomatoes and the BBC counting Arteta's footsteps around the technical area are too boring for you, there is one bit of entertainment left in the Premier League, which is the blood sport of watching how ugly it gets for the shit munchers. Particularly thinking of Leicester and Southampton, who are
it's getting bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
they're having an awful go of it. I mean, if Southampton weren't in this season, you'd say Leicester are having one of the worst campaigns ever, and yeah, they're not even bottom. So let's talk about Leicester first, who are record-breakingly bad. They lost to Newcastle on the weekend, meaning they are now the first side in English Football League history to lose 8 successive home games without getting a goal. It's fairly appalling.
I'm surprised anyone goes anymore.
The stadium's been half empty, haven't
Yeah.
they?
Fair play to the people who are going.
Yeah,
That's,
proper.
that's dedication. Ruud van Nistelrooy, obviously, he was earlier in the season, he was caretaker at Man United.
Yeah, did all right.
And he led Man United to 2 wins over Leicester, which means he has the same number of victories over Leicester this season as he has with them in the
What an
league.
awful stat.
2. And Leicester, the last time they scored at the King Power Stadium, Gary O'Neill was Wolves manager, Russell Martin was at Southampton, and Sleepy Joe Biden was in the White House. Which, that does feel like a long time ago.
Sleepy Joe.
Yeah, well, Ruud's still there though. They're just saying.
I think you got to see him out to the end of the year and then decide. I mean, he comes with a lot of fanfare, and apparently he's a good gaffer. So I don't know whether
He
you.
was quite good at United.
He
briefly.
did, yeah.
He did well with, was it PSV? Was that?
PSV, yeah.
Yeah.
With those tomatoes.
Yeah, I mean, the architecture of the Eindhoven city centre has obviously been dominated by the increase in large agricultural warehouses.
Anyway, apparently Leicester are shopping around, and one of the candidates is Russell Martin, which you sort of think, what are we
Terrible.
doing here? Like, what's the long term?
Merry-go-round.
I
Shit
think
managers.
giving it to Ruud for next season makes sense, but don't just get in who's
So has he not sort of lost the faith in the
Yeah,
dressing
the changing
a little
room.
bit?
Maybe they'll all be
fans.
gone. I don't know. Do we think Vardy's going to be there? Yeah. Maybe
mean,
this prolongs Vardy's career.
I thought, yeah. Well, I mean, I imagine Vardy just taking a bit of a paycheck and going to Saudi or something.
I think
Can't see him
now
there.
it's like he'll be the sort of like the rare bloke who's played in his 40s.
And playing for the same team
Yeah,
in
I
the
think-
Championship. I still think he'd probably do a job for him in the Championship
Yeah.
as well.
I
hope
can't
so.
see him handling the heat in Saudi very
Yeah,
well.
it's true. Very red.
Yeah.
Red like a
Just
tomato.
He likes his tomatoes quite
Yeah.
watery, actually. Anyway, Russell Martin brings me on to Southampton, who were relegated on the weekend. Is that the earliest the team's ever been relegated in the Premier League?
Yeah, I think so. 7 games.
They then sacked Ivan Juric, the manager, which, again, I mean, the writing was on the wall when he joined.
Yeah.
It's nice of them to wait, I guess, just in case he somehow managed to avoid relegation, but
Lallana's in for assistant gaffer, isn't he?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah. He's a lovely guy, isn't he, Lallana?
Yeah. What is in this season?
This season,
So he
yeah.
might help them defeat
Well, he can't get him.
defeat
He can't.
Derby.
Yeah, he might.
So
yeah.
because Southampton have got 10 points, the record for worst ever is 11, Derby County, and 08-09, I think it
Right.
was.
So they've got to draw one.
Yeah, which maybe they will. I felt a bit sorry for Juric. So he only had that job for 3 months, and before that he was Roma manager, and they sacked him after 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really enough time to give him a fair go at it.
Yeah.
All right, well, I was then looking at shorter spells as manager, and I think the record is Leroy Rossignol, who got brought in by Torquay owner Mike Bateson, and Bateson was selling the club, and he was like, I just want a steady hand here to just sort of steady the ship. and make sure nothing is too dramatic while I get the club sold. So he did this press conference unveiling Rosenior to the local media. And then 10 minutes later, he called another press conference to announce he'd sold the club to a local consortium who were bringing in a new manager. So Leroy Rosenior lasted 10 minutes.
Nice.
I think that must be the shortest ever. Let us know if you got a shorter one.
Hopefully you got to pay it out.
Yeah, do you think you do?
I mean, if you signed a contract, there's probably some sort of break clause.
Yeah, Mike Bason's fucked up if he's having to pay out for that.
Or he was deliberately fucking over the next consortium.
Oh.
Could get boring. The word consortium. All right, some other funny sackings I was looking at. Jozo Gaspar, who's a sort of Dinamo Zagreb legend who then took over NK Preko Zagreb, smaller side. And all was going well at the club until they checked the CCTV and spotted Jozo sneaking into the dressing room, rifling through a player's trousers pockets and pinching one of their credit cards. And you're probably wondering, what's his game there? Is he committing a mass fraud? He was then spotted driving into town to an offie where he bought 36 1-litre bottles of Jägermeister for 450 quid.
That's a lot of Jägermeister. It's actually a decent price.
Yeah.
For 36 bottles.
I think Zagreb's the place to get it, clearly.
It sounds like 36 bottles. Maybe he was buying them for the team.
Yeah, that's generous. Do you think he told me to lend him his credit card?
Yeah.
I think he's just having a party.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's a good crime, I think. It's it's fun.
He's having it.
Yeah. Anyway, he was sacked and arrested on the same day, unsurprisingly. And then there's Brian McDermott. He was Leeds manager in 2014. You know when they were taken over by Cellino, that slightly mental Italian bloke? This was sort of probably peak Leeds pantomime. So they were in the Championship, and Cellino took over. He's Italian, doesn't speak great English, and like many Italians, he's superstitious against the colour purple. A lot of them are, apparently. And he gave an interview like 18 months ago, remembering this time, and he said, "When I got there was this velvet bloody couch in the suite at Elland Road. It was a purple." And he saw the purple couch and immediately said to his underlings, "Change the bloody couch. I don't want to see it anymore."
Was he a vampire?
I want to suck your blood. He's Nosferatu. Anyway, in case you couldn't follow through that accent, he told them to sell this couch. And the staff at Leeds, who didn't know Cellino very well, thought he said, "Sack the bloody coach." And so they called him Brian McDermott. Apparently he was just fired by a lawyer, just like a club lawyer, just said, "Sorry, new owner wants you out." And so he was sacked. And the next day, the staff came to Cellino and they were like, "All right, so who do you want to take the team tomorrow?" And he's like, "What? Just get the manager to do it." And they're like, "You sacked the manager." And he's like, "What? I fired the manager." And they're like, "Yeah, you told us to get rid of them." So obviously he then realizes, "No, I meant the couch,
not a coach."
By which point 2,000 Leeds fans have descended onto the stadium to protest, according to Cellino. He said it was 10 p.m. at night and there were all these fans there who wanted to kill me.
Fuck.
And so he had to call the police and they snuck him out hiding in a police car. Anyway, Brian McDermott was reinstated 4 days later.
Oh, really?
Well, when they realised the couch fuck up.
Yeah.
He lasted a few more months and then he went for good.
What about the couch? Did the
Gone,
couch?
long
Couch
gone.
was long gone.
A couple of honourable mentions of fun sackings, actually. So Peter Cormack, the Cowdenbeath manager, was called to meet the chairman of the club, and the chairman told him to meet him at this motorway burger van that was often there. And while they're in the queue waiting for his burger, the chairman sacked him.
Quarter pounder of cheese, mate, and you're off.
Do you want onions? If I were you, I wouldn't. And then Harald Schumacher, legendary German goalkeeper who was managing Fortuna Cologne. And he was sacked at half-time and replaced by his assistant, Ralph Minge. And then finally, I've got a clip. Dave Bassett, do you remember him? He was in our Crazy Gang episode, often called Harry. He was Watford manager when Elton John was the owner, and Elton eventually called him in for a sacking. And here's Dave on the Under the Kosh podcast telling the story.
So we're sitting down. He said, "Harry, you see that cushion that's beside you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "We're going to have a game with that." I said, "Oh, are we?" He said, "Yeah, it's like a dice." He goes, "Come on, Harry, 1 to 5, you get the sack." I said, "No, odds ain't very good, are they?" He said, "No." I said, "But what are you going to do if I get a 6? He said, "It's obvious, Harry. you have another fucking throw. So we got pissed, and I went home at 4 o'clock in the morning. Sacked. Yeah, sacked. Yeah.
I didn't think Elton had that in the locker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always got. He was always quite like fun-loving. Whenever I've seen him at Watford, like he went on tour with the players to America, or no, they went to China, and apparently he was like playing. He was like asking to go training with them and stuff, and like yeah. Apparently Tim Sherwood, like Elton, one day was like, "Oh, I really want to train with you today," and all the players were like, "Oh, yeah, maybe you can join in." And like Tim Sherwood, being Tim Sherwood, took it like really seriously and like crunched him after 2 seconds.
Is Elton like coming out in his like Queen Elizabeth I outfit? this is cokey Elton phase, isn't it? Fuck,
Hasn't been to bed.
I would love to do an Elton John episode of the Upshot. Actually, those years,
Yeah,
be really good. I feel that story to me sounds like cokey Elton face. Also, there's a bit we didn't hear it on the clip, but at the start of the clip where he says he gets there and it's like everything's like ridiculous, like white velvet furniture.
Really?
It's like it's cokehead furniture.
Speaking of teams that are going through a bit of a rough time at the moment, Man United fans have been having a shit season, really. You know, the football's been crap, stadiums falling apart, season ticket prices going up. You wouldn't put it past Jim Ratcliffe to start charging them 30 pence to go for a piss.
The Ryanair experience.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And yeah, if turning up at Old Trafford wasn't miserable enough, it turns out that fans have also been getting scammed by fake parking stewards. So there's various fans have been reporting turning up to Old Trafford in their car looking for somewhere to park, and these guys in high-vis vests with official parking attendant on the back, like directing them into these private car parks outside flats, charging them a tenner, and they then get back after the game, have got 180 quid fines.
Fuck's sake. So these guys are basically getting a tenner off them.
Yeah. They you just buy a high-vis jacket and then
There's something about a high-vis jacket that just sort of screams authority, though. You just never question it.
You know, like those videos of people like queuing in for clubs and the bouncer's wearing a high-vis and he gets them to blow into his walkie-talkie area. They think it's a breathalyzer.
Wasn't there the guy who got into the Champions League final a few years ago just with a high-vis?
Yeah,
it works. Yeah.
You can do it.
So they're getting scammed for 10 quid and then they have to pay 180 quid. The scammer's not even getting the 180.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a genius idea. Apparently it's been going on for years. And to be honest, it kind of sounds like the kind of money-making scheme that Jim Ratcliffe might cook up himself.
In your side hustle.
Yeah. It's like, look, Fuggy, if you're going to justify that £1 million ambassadorial role,
You've got to get in a car.
you're going to have to put on this vest. But yeah, I'm also wondering if there's some kind of like fake parking guru in the Manchester area. Because do you remember when Ravel Morrison got caught using that? It was like a dead person's disabled parking badge. He was caught using it. And he said that he'd paid 50 quid for it from someone in Old Trafford. Which,
dubious.
I always wonder with that, like, what does Ravel Morrison need with a disabled
surely
badge?
just take
You
the
can park
fine.
anywhere.
It can park
Yeah.
directly outside PC World. Does he really need that?
See what you mean?
Maybe it's Ravel Morrison doing it.
Doing the parking skate game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would be useful. I'm not saying I would do it, obviously, but being able to park anywhere, Manchester.
I came across another story about Old Trafford the other day that I'd never heard. So in 2016, Man United had this security firm come in to do some training exercises at the stadium. Like during the week when nobody was there, they were like training their staff to look for suspicious activity, training them to use the sniffer dogs. And they accidentally left a fake pipe bomb behind one of the toilets. And no one found it until the following Saturday when they were playing Bournemouth, and a fan was just in the box like going for a nervy pre-match shit and just found this pipe bomb. Looks like something from the Troubles.
It looks fucking proper.
Like
Look at that
it's a
and
pipe.
Yeah, you know that's a bomb.
Yeah, it's got a mobile phone.
I mean, if that
taped to
phone
a
starts
pipe.
ringing, you are shitting yourself. Yeah.
So it wasn't a real bomb though,
No,
right?
it was a fake bomb, which they said that was why the actual sniffer dogs on the day didn't find it, because there were no
Sure.
actual explosives.
Right.
But anyway, this guy found it and obviously freaked the fuck out and reported it to security. They ended up having to evacuate the whole stadium, postpone the match.
Oh my god. When
and
was
do
this?
like a controlled explosion? 2016.
I don't remember that.
Cost them about £3 million apparently.
Fucking,
Because
you got to blow it up.
They had to blow it up and just like everyone was in the stadium, and they
Stadium,
had to evacuate the whole stadium, do a controlled explosion.
Why do you have to blow it up? 'Cause
reschedule
you're
the
still
match.
not certain it was from the training day.
Yeah.
I feel like they've slightly fucked up on the training day if they're not picking up all the
Yeah.
pipe.
Just a bit.
Would that be
P40.
like hidden in the cistern of the toilet, or would it just be on the floor?
I don't know the details, to be honest.
Well, I mean, if he's seen it, it's probably like underneath the toilet or somewhere near
Yeah.
the toilet.
Yeah.
You wouldn't open up the
I mean,
stern.
someone failed their security training.
P45 on your desk,
Yeah.
son.
It's also very Old Trafford to be, like the catering failed the hygiene test
Yeah,
at a health and safety event, and now it's like, the bomb disposal guys left a bomb and had to blow it up. Like, they essentially bombed Old Trafford. Club World Cup. It's safe to say absolutely no one gives a shit about it, but it's coming in June to the USA. And, I think Gianni Infantino, the FIFA chairman, genuinely thought this was going to be like a new jewel in their crown, and he'd sort of invent a new Champions League that everyone would give a shit about. But it's not panned out that way. And I think his first realization is when he started to try and sell the broadcast rights. And in the UK, there wasn't much uptake. So Sky and TNT Sports were just like, nah. BBC also refused to bid. ITV did bid, but they bid £0. So they basically said, like, we'll show it, but we're not paying you for it. Like, you should just want the exposure. So things were looking pretty bleak for Infantino and FIFA until DAZN, the streaming
Yeah,
company,
don't they do a lot of boxing?
do a lot of boxing, a lot of random stuff. They came in at the last minute and they tabled like just a slightly higher bid to beat ITV's offer. So DAZN went in at $1 billion, slightly higher. And after much deliberation, they were awarded the rights. You're probably wondering, where did DAZN get the money from? Like, they got some big investors, but $1 billion. Well, actually, a couple of months earlier, they just received a generous $1 billion cash injection from the very charitable Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It was very kind of them.
What a surprise.
To support a fledgling streamer. And then 1 week after DAZN were awarded the rights to the Club World Cup, on a totally unrelated note, the hosting rights to the 2034 World Cup were awarded to Saudi Arabia. Congratulations to them.
Shit.
Those plucky upstarts. So yeah, all fucking bent, but the upshot of it all was that DAZN are showing the Club World Cup, which, it ticks the box of selling the rights for a lot, but who the fuck has a DAZN?
But do you think they're going to do the old Amazon Prime thing, which is like you can have a free trial if you watch
They're
it?
going to have to, but apparently they were trying to go further. So DAZN were like, we still want to then show some of the games on terrestrial TV in the UK,
Yeah.
just to make sure people see
Or
it.
just give it to
ITV.
Yeah, they were like,
whatever.
we'll literally give it to you. And apparently, so BBC turned it down, and ITV did. ITV, having bid £0, they've obviously moved on. They've now got an episode of fucking
Midsummer
repeats-
Murders.
yeah,
Repeats of the
Taggart reruns from 1994. And honestly, I think more people will watch
Yeah,
that
100%.
than fucking Mamelodi Sundowns.
Yeah, that's the thing with the Club World Cup, is like there will be a few good games. Like I think Bayern and Boca Juniors are in the same group, which is quite a spicy game. But then
Yeah.
you've also got just like Al Ali against like some team from
Mamelodi Sundowns.
yeah.
Anyway, DAZN obviously needs to get this shown.
Shifted, yeah.
Their $1 billion is just going to the teams, isn't it? So there's an incentive for the clubs, but yeah, DAZN can't get the BBC or ITV to show it. So I think I had a quick look through all the broadcasters that remain. So I think it's now between Men and Motors, Babe Station, and Welsh language channel S4C for who might show it. I can't see who else is left.
Or the Upshot YouTube.
Yeah, although I would probably take it if we can commentate.
Yeah.
Yeah, ticket sales aren't doing much better either. So I had a look because I got an email from FIFA saying that if you buy tickets to the Club World Cup, you automatically are allowed to buy last 16 tickets for the World Cup next summer, which is also in America. So they're basically bribing people now.
Yeah.
And they said if you buy 20 Club World Cup tickets, you get World Cup final tickets.
And what's the average price of a ticket?
Club World Cup.
Yeah.
Big old range. So the opener, which is Al Ali, the Egyptian Giants versus Inter Miami, who've got Messi, starts at $380 a ticket on the FIFA website.
Nuts.
So that's 300 quid.
So yeah, you're talking like 6-7 grand's worth of tickets to get a final for the
No,
World
to get
Cup.
the right to buy a final ticket, which you got
you
paid
don't.
for. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
First refusal, I guess you call it. The final of the Club World Cup, the tickets are $650. That's the
It's
cheapest seat
Cheapest seats.
to
That's
watch in
insane.
New Jersey to watch what's presumably going to be Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid in a random summer friendly.
Yeah.
Like, who fucking cares?
The whole thing's a mess.
Mm.
It's exactly what's wrong with modern football. They've tried to chuck money at a problem and it's not worked.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's all I'll have to say on the matter. And
How
I'm done
dare
now.
they?
This whole story's gone quite private eye, really.
Yeah.
Although next week when we're like, this episode of The Upshot is brought to you by DAZN. You can watch Mama
I'm sitting here in a DAZN t-shirt. like-
and we will do it. I have no morals about these kind of things. I think people have priced that in, haven't they, about us?
Yeah.
I should, to be fair, in the interest of
Do we try
balance...
to recruit them to the Royal Navy? Just watching the Club World Cup is sort of
Yeah,
small
child's
fry,
play.
really.
We've already asked you to die for your
They've
country.
all been gifted manscapes.
Yeah, throwing them in the wood chipper for Royal Navy. I should say, for balance and in the interest of getting DAZN to sponsor us, I should say that some matches you can get tickets for like $40.
With the code UPSHOT to
So
reduce that to 35.
I had a flick through. So, for example, you can watch Ulsan HD, who are currently 5th in Korea's top flight. They're playing South African giants Mamelodi Sundowns. That game,
That is the most South African football.
yeah,
league.
that game is $40. Starts at
Yeah.
and I don't think it will sell out. No offense to them.
Where's it taking place? Do you know?
Orlando, Florida. So you can go Disney World as well. In fact, on the FIFA website, you can sign up for a package deal. Not only without doing the ad, without the money. But actually, George, who writes the Upshot newsletter, was telling me that Club World Cup tickets are now being sold on tout sites for less than they were
Good.
bought for on the FIFA site.
Good. Love that.
Because that's the biggest arseholes
Yeah.
on earth. Like, first of all, you bought Club World Cup tickets and you're a tout.
Yeah.
So, speaking of corruption, did you see the photo of the Bulgarian referee who's sitting in the VAR room just at kickoff of a match and he's gambling on his phone? It's a really good pic. So he's at the very foreground of the shot. Can you see it? He's on his phone and
You
then
can.
someone zoomed in. By the way, this is the Sofia Derby, Lokomotiv versus CSKA. It's a big game. And he's on... I'm not going to name the bookie. I'm
You
not gonna
can't name
help
the
them.
bookie.
Yeah, you
Does
know.
own
You know.
bet.
Use code UPSHOT 10 for 10 quid off your
Can't name the
first
bookie
bet.
because I am signed up to Bet Saudi.
The only thing I'd say is, what does he know that anyone else doesn't? Like, what's he going to know?
But no, but it's if he's got
Well,
a
if he's-
financial
if he's-
interest in the
yeah.
result, and
if he's
Ah,
placing
true,
a bet on
sorry.
how many yellow cards they're going to be.
True.
How many red
or
cards.
on the result, and then he gets asked for a call, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Well, if I don't give this, I
Yeah.
might win."
Yeah,
I mean, he's
fair enough.
probably betting on a different game, but I think, to be honest, it will make you vulnerable to corruption
It's,
if you
it's
are.
quite funny that the VAR official got caught out on CCTV
Yeah, who
on, a
votes the
slow,
VAR?
on a slow-mo zoom in.
Also, have you noticed in the VAR studio, in massive letters on the wall, is an ad for another bookie?
Oh, really?
You can just see something bet. Yeah. So, I mean,
They ain't going to be happy.
So we were talking earlier about horses throughout the Grand National, right, and Red Rum, and I was reading about another esteemed horse this week called Clever Hans. Have you come across Clever Hans before?
No, I haven't heard of him.
So Clever Hans, let me tell you, he was a famous horse in Germany in the early 1900s. I'm just wondering, is this the most boring episode?
I'm actually having a great...
it was a slow week.
at which point the
No.
main export would have been coal, probably, maybe steel.
Yeah, I say Germany, it was actually Prussia at the time.
Let us paint the picture for you.
Yeah. But anyway, so he was a very famous horse in the Prussia region at that point because he was supposedly able to do arithmetic. So he could add, subtract, multiply, divide, work with fractions even, tell the time, keep track of the calendar, as well as read, spell and understand German.
How?
So I'll explain. So around, just to give you a bit of historical context to this was around the sort of time when Darwin's theories were becoming more like widely accepted rather than a bit of heresy. And the public are really interested in animal intelligence. And this horse, Hans, he was owned by a school maths teacher who was also sort of a bit of a mystic sort of character. And he decided to dedicate a lot of time to teaching Hans to do maths, basically. So he'd ask Hans questions, and clever Hans, would respond by tapping his hoof a certain number of times.
So you could basically answer a number.
Yeah.
How's it in fractions?
don't
Half a hoof.
question it, Jack.
Is it just like how many?
Yeah, I guess you'd ask him.
How many-
You'd
How many
ask him-
quarters?
Yeah, yeah, eat the apple if you think it's for the square root. But anyway,
I guess you could be
so
like,
you'd-
how many
you'd
quarters?
you'd ask him a fraction-based question, and he would respond. And he
That's
got
pretty
very
good.
good at it. He got really famous. So he was touring all around Germany doing shows.
What, like circuses?
Yeah, they were. I guess circuses. or
Thinking
just
Man
live
circus.
shows. He performed in front of royalty.
Wow.
Even made it into the New York Times. They reported on Berlin's wonderful horse who could do almost anything. And he gets so famous that the Prussian Ministry of Education do a study into him called the Hans Commission, where they get 9 different experts in different fields to like study him, and they find that there's no trick to it. He's genuinely solving these.
Well, so
puzzles.
they think he's basically sat there and listened to the maths
Yeah,
teacher's
so he can
lessons.
understand German because he's listening to the questions and then he's answering them, so he can do the math. Eventually, though, a killjoy psychologist starts to investigate it and basically does loads of studies on Hans and works out that he'd been picking up these really subtle body language clues from his trainer. So in his sort of, he'd ask this question, and as Hans got close to the answer, his like facial expression would change, or
He's
you know,
like,
very,
he would just react.
yeah. So I don't think that the trainer actually knew that he was giving these cues to Hans. But anyway,
that's as good, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, it's to
Hang
be
on,
honest.
I mean, if he's just reacting to
this,
bodily cues, though,
it's
he's not
still-
actually answering the question.
this is the point I was coming to, is that like it sort of debunked the fact that he can do algebra, but it's still fucking impressive.
Still impressive, yeah.
It's still impressive.
But hang on, what are the cues? Are they just like, or is it
So
like,
I think so. A lot of the
itching
time,
your face with
he'd
a wand?
so he'd do it a lot in front of crowds, and the crowd would know that the answer was 11. And as Hans is like tapping his hoof, as he got close, you could hear the crowd be like, "Oh!" And then he'd get to it, and there'd be sort of
yeah.
climax. Then he'd know to stop
Come
doing
down.
that.
yeah.
So
Still
anyway,
impressive.
He's still,
So he's like a stop clock that's telling the right time, but people are literally.
yeah. They
kind
they tell him when they sort of. Basically, he picked up on human body language
Yeah,
to,
which
to
is-
work out, which is still
It's a
fucking
different skill.
impressive.
Originally, I was like, this horse is autistic,
Yeah.
and now I'm like, no, this because you were
This
like,
horse
it can like name the day
Yeah.
of the week if you give it,
Mm.
and now I'm like, it's actually a body language exercise. It's
Yeah.
like a Darren
Yeah.
Brown.
He's no
horse.
mathematician.
He's actually
Yeah, it's fucking impressive.
He's like a
although
bit of
I'm
like a
not.
pickup artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure his subsequent owners were quite so impressed though. So in 1909, his owner, the one who trained him, sadly died, and Hans was passed through various different owners until World War One, where he was sent off to the army. And was killed in action in 1916, or was consumed by hungry soldiers.
What an end.
Or they don't.
Well,
Quite.
this is from his Wikipedia page.
they obviously ate it.
But yeah.
Well, so
Which
basically on
is,
the-
is sort of a quite undistinguished end for
What, dying at the
such
Somme?
a clever horse.
Yeah. Because that was the era where like they hadn't realised that horses in trench warfare you're just mincemeat,
Yeah, it's a bad idea.
or they ate it anyway.
Yeah.
Do you think they ate him last? They're like, don't eat the clever horse. eat fucking the one with the big cock first,
Don't eat
because
Darren
we don't
He
need
was,
that
he
anymore.
was lecturing them on pacifism.
Right, you get fucking eaten. Do you know, I've had it with your fucking smart aleck remarks, clever hands.
Clever clogs.
Yeah, I agree. If we go over the top again, we will get killed.
Right, off you go.
yeah.
God, that was a fun time to live. Not the First World War, but just before it, where like people were like, "Fuck, maybe horses can do maths."
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's still a
Like,
bit of
wicked-
magic.
yeah.
You know?
Do you know, and like there'd be like sightings of like oh, there's like a pig with 4 heads that lives on this island. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People would still believe that shit. Whereas now it's like, no.
Mystical sea creatures.
Yeah. We sort of, if we're discovering a new animal, it's like a slightly different breed of louse.
Slug. Yeah.
Bigfoot.
Yeah. Bigfoot. When did the majority of people think this is bollocks with Bigfoot?
I reckon early 70s they started to sort of.
We were looking at a picture of Bigfoot this week. The the really famous one that's
Was
like
it a
from
busy
the other
week in
side
the
of a
office?
lake. It's been a slow sports week, all right? As you may have deduced. From
Oh,
this
Jack, come here. I've just found a new picture of Bigfoot.
No, so this is like
Telling ghost stories.
It's the famous picture of Bigfoot, which at the time people were like, "Oh my god, it's real." There is a Yeti, not a Yeti. That's the one that lives in the
Abominable
Abominable
snowman.
snowman.
But no, this was in like the woods somewhere in America thing.
Yeah.
And you look at the picture now, and it's like that is a man in a costume. I can see, I can see the divide where his helmet, but his hat has gone on.
People fell.
It looks so shit.
It's like that. Do you remember there's like a bear in that zoo in China that's just a bloke in an outfit. So obviously a bloke in an outfit. We're just like
What is that? So did the zoo
Allow him to go in.
The zoo got
did the bear
caught.
die or something?
I don't know. They were
didn't-
short of a bear, and look, you can see the full picture. He's wearing, he's wearing trousers, he's wearing trousers and like work shoes, and he's got a bear, and he's got his arms out. And the zoo were caught, and they were just like denied everything. They're like, no, that's a real bear, and that was like 5 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Huang Zhu said that people don't understand the species of the zoo. That's just a bloke in a zoo bear costume.
Oh,
So I
that's
guess
great.
it must have been fun to live in an era where like you're so clueless, you don't have all that information. You've never even seen you've never seen a bear
Yeah.
or a horse. Maybe a lot of people wouldn't have ever seen a horse before.
Do you think I feel
No,
like
that's
think
right.
that's
It's the main mode of transport.
That's
What year was the horse
Everyone saw
invented?
it. I reckon there's more people today who've not seen a horse than there were.
Yeah,
in
you're
the-
right. You're
in
definitely
the
right.
1900s.
like the main method of travel.
I think if you lived in a city, you probably might not have seen a cow, but yeah, you've seen a horse.
Yeah.
Wrong animal. Anyway, so then you see this horse that can do math. It must have been so magical.
Yeah. The Cleverhand story reminded me of Rabio the octopus.
yes,
You know
I remember
Rabio? So
him.
Rabio was sort of Japanese cousin of Paul the octopus. And so he's like basically predicting results. So he correctly predicted all of Japan's group stage games at the 2018 World Cup. And in the process became a bit of a national celebrity. You know, he was on all the news channels and
Probably the most
talk
famous
shows and
octopus
stuff.
in
Yeah.
Japan.
Yeah.
Possibly
yeah.
the world.
Yeah, or certainly in Japan's like 3 islands, isn't it?
Yeah, out
in
of the 3
north
islands.
bit,
He
the
was-
one that Tokyo's in. He was
He
most
didn't. He
famous
hadn't
in
quite.
that one.
He hadn't quite broken the South Island.
No.
He was
No.
getting on talk shows. He was,
Getting there.
Being,
He's on the way up.
being lined up for the next series of Love Island. Started behaving inappropriately around younger octopuses in this TV studio.
He lost his head.
And to be fair, an octopus is probably the most pervy animal because it's got
Yeah.
8 hands to grope you with.
Yeah. But anyway, he predicted all the group stage games correctly, and then Japan got knocked out in this last 16, and Rabio was boiled alive and sold at a fish market.
What a sad end
It is, yeah.
to an
There's-
illustrious career.
There's something so Japanese about that.
Yeah.
Just like, well, you got it wrong, and therefore you will be boiled alive. You
It's
failed.
quite, do you think it was like a sort of samurai thing?
Yeah.
Japan got knocked out.
Yeah, you've brought shame upon the nation.
Yeah, threw himself into a pot of
Boiled him alive.
boiling soup.
Oh, you think he jumped?
Yeah.
Well, if you know of any other funny animals, we are.
Short stories.
This is now animals do the darndest things. It is the most bottom of the barrel content is just funny animals, isn't it? Cat memes.
This could be the last one.
It's like the worst bits of You've Been Framed meet the early internet.
Yeah.
Actually, I've got an even more lowbrow bit because we've had a bit of feedback on the old piss troll story you told last week, Zach.
Yeah.
So it was
was
this is
a-
Subway City Birmingham club man who stands outside. There's a platform people would wee off, and he would bask in it. I guess.
Yeah.
Shower
Yeah,
in
he
it.
would stand under the bridge, and when people pissed off the bridge, he'd come out and
I don't think
Let
you're
it rain
basking
on
it.
him.
I think you're.
You can bask and jack off at the same
Yeah, I
time.
think
can't
mainly
you?
masturbating.
I
Aren't
don't,
you?
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
think possibly.
He definitely
assume
did
so.
that later.
Yeah, you'd assume so. Anyway, someone sent us a photo. It's a bit like the Bigfoot sighting. This is our generation's Bigfoot. A grainy pic, I have to say, but you can just about make out a face in the dark.
What?
Can you see that? There's his figure.
That's scary.
I'm not having it.
I'd say this display monitor, it doesn't come out as vivid.
Now that is a man in a piss troll outfit. That is not a piss troll.
Yeah, so he's like, yeah, it's a fake piss troll. But so apparently this picture was taken mid-piss by someone called Sean Walsh. And yeah, it's the bloke in the dark. And someone else said, possibly, was it Harry who wrote in? Yeah, Harry said that the troll had some sort of device, like a pipe. Basically,
I thought it was like guttering. He had a
What,
piece
to
of-
like
keep
guttering?
to catch the piss. Because I guess maybe a funnel at the top.
I
then
suppose
you-
if it's quite a long way, it can go anywhere. So if you've got a funnel,
Yeah, wide.
you're getting a nice accurate shot.
And then it comes down the pipe.
Yeah, straight.
It's like a straw, basically.
Gullet.
Big straw.
He's evolving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta hand it to him.
Yeah.
Ingenious.
He's like piss Gollum.
Yeah. Stick that in your pipe, Darwin. On that note, we have reached the end of this charming episode, and we are going to have to scuttle away to Tuchel's dungeon, where, believe it or not, it gets even weirder. Maybe even more boring. Don't know what Crop will do on there. So if you want more on there today, we are discussing some of our biggest legal fuck-ups ever, including the time that Pep Guardiola sued us for an absolutely heinous accusation involving a train. Yeah, sign up now, patreon.com/Upshot Towers. Do it in your browser, not the Patreon app. It's cheaper. And you get instant access to that episode. And you can hear about Jimmy Firebelly's adventures. So you'll get that episode. You'll get early access to part 2 of 2-part episodes. No ads. Extended cuts, which does include an extended conversation about circumcision coming up in an episode soon. And one about my great-great-grandmother, who was the 7th last woman to be hanged in Britain. So you can get all that. Is anyone still listening?
For £3?
£3 a month, bargain. We're going in there now. Either way, thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers, chaps.
Thanks.
Goodbye.